In the heart of the rugged mountains, a legend stalked the wilderness. Whispered tales spoke of a vicious bear, its reputation steeped in fear and awe. For years, this beast had ruled the dense forests and craggy slopes, its mere presence enough to send hikers and adventurers fleeing in terror. But Jacob was different. He wasn't like the others who had dared to venture into the bear's domain. Jacob was a man who understood the wild, who had spent countless hours immersed in nature's embrace. His connection to the land ran deep, a spiritual bond that transcended the boundaries of the physical world. As Jacob trekked through the mountain trails, his steps were sure and steady. He moved with a quiet reverence, his eyes taking in the majesty of the towering pines and the gentle sway of the wildflowers. In this untamed landscape, Jacob found solace and purpose. Little did he know that his path would soon cross with the legendary bear, and that their encounter would mark a turning point not only for himself but for the entire mountain community. The bear had always been a creature of instinct, relying on its strength and ferocity to survive in the harsh wilderness. It had learned early on that fear was its most powerful weapon. With each encounter, the bear had reinforced its reputation, leaving a trail of destruction and terror in its wake. But as the bear lumbered through the dense undergrowth, its senses alert and its muscles rippling beneath its thick fur, something felt different. There was a presence in the forest, a force that the bear had never encountered before. As the bear emerged from the treeline, its eyes locked onto the lone figure standing in the clearing. It was Jacob, his posture calm and his gaze unwavering. In that moment, the bear hesitated, something it had never done before. Jacob stood still, his heart pounding in his chest as he faced the massive bear. He had heard the stories, the tales of the bear's ferocity and the fear it instilled in those who crossed its path. But as he looked into the bear's eyes, Jacob saw something else. In those dark, ancient eyes, Jacob recognized a flicker of intelligence, a glimmer of understanding. He sensed the bear's power, the raw strength that coursed through its body, but he also sensed something deeper, a connection to the wild that mirrored his own. Jacob took a deep breath, letting the mountain air fill his lungs. He knew that this moment would define him, that the choices he made would ripple through the fabric of the wilderness. As the bear charged forward, its massive paws pounding against the earth, Jacob remained rooted in place. He didn't run, didn't scream. Instead, he channeled the calm that had always guided him in nature's embrace. Seconds stretched into eternity as the bear closed the distance, its hot breath billowing in the cool mountain air. But just before the beast's jaws could clamp down on Jacob's flesh, something extraordinary happened. Jacob's unshakable presence, his quiet strength, penetrated the bear's primal instincts. In that fraction of a second, the bear hesitated, its momentum faltering. It was a moment of profound uncertainty, a crack in the bear's armor of fear and aggression. And in that moment, Jacob saw an opportunity, not to overpower the bear, but to connect with it on a level that transcended the boundaries of predator and prey. As the bear stood before him, its massive frame trembling with pent-up energy, Jacob slowly raised his hand. It was a gesture of peace, a silent offering of understanding. The bear's eyes followed Jacob's movement, its gaze intense and searching. For a long moment, the two remained locked in a silent exchange, a primal communication that spoke volumes without a single word. Slowly, tentatively, the bear lowered its head, its nose twitching as it caught Jacob's scent. There was something different about this human, something that set him apart from the others who had crossed the bear's path. Jacob's heart raced as he felt the bear's warm breath on his palm. It was a moment of profound connection, a bridge spanning the gulf between the human world and the wild. As news of Jacob's incredible encounter with the bear spread through the mountain community, it sparked a ripple of change. People who had once lived in fear of the wilderness began to see it in a new light. They marveled at Jacob's courage, his ability to face the bear with calmness and respect. They whispered about the profound connection he had forged with the creature, a bond that defied the laws of nature. In the days that followed, Jacob became a symbol of hope and transformation. His example inspired others to reconsider their relationship with the wild, to seek out the beauty and wisdom that lay hidden within the untamed landscapes. The community began to come together, united by a newfound appreciation for the delicate balance that existed between humans and nature. They realized that true strength lay not in domination, but in understanding and coexistence. As the bear retreated back into the depths of the forest, Jacob felt a weight lift from his shoulders. He had faced his fears, had stood tall in the face of a creature that had once been the stuff of nightmares. But more than that, Jacob had glimpsed the heart of the wild, had touched the soul of a being that was both fierce and vulnerable. He understood now that the bear was not a monster to be feared, but a creature to be respected and protected. In the days that followed, Jacob found himself drawn back to the mountains, his steps guided by an invisible force. He walked the trails with a newfound purpose, his eyes open to the wonders that surrounded him. He saw the delicate dance of the butterflies, the playful antics of the squirrels, and the majestic flight of the eagles. Each moment was a reminder of the intricate web of life that bound all creatures together. As Jacob's story spread, it ignited a spark of change within the community. People began to see the bear in a new light, not as a fearsome predator, but as a symbol of the wild's untamed beauty. They gathered in town squares and around campfires, sharing stories of their own encounters with nature. They spoke of the moments that had touched their hearts, the instances when they had felt a profound connection to something greater than themselves. Slowly but surely, the fear that had once gripped the mountain community began to dissipate. In its place, a new sense of unity and purpose took root. People began to see themselves not as separate from the wild, but as an integral part of it. They started community gardens, planting seeds that would grow into nourishing food and vibrant flowers. They organized cleanup efforts, removing the litter and debris that had once marred the mountain trails. And through it all, Jacob remained a guiding light, a quiet presence that inspired others to embrace the wild within themselves. As the seasons changed and the mountain landscape transformed, Jacob found himself drawn deeper into the heart of the wild. He spent long hours wandering the forests, studying the intricate patterns of the leaves and listening to the gentle whispers of the wind. He began to see the bear more frequently, not as a threat, but as a companion. The two would often cross paths, exchanging glances that spoke of a mutual understanding. Jacob realized that the bear was not just a creature of instinct, but a being with its own thoughts and emotions. He saw the intelligence in its eyes, the curiosity in its movements. And as he watched the bear navigate the rugged terrain, Jacob began to understand the true nature of strength. It was not about domination or aggression, but about adapting to the ever-changing rhythms of the wild. As the mountain community continued to evolve, Jacob found himself at the center of a profound transformation. People looked to him for guidance, for the wisdom that he had gained through his connection to the wild. He began to teach others the ways of the wilderness, sharing his knowledge of the plants and animals that called the mountains home. He showed them how to read the signs of the seasons, how to find sustenance in the wild. And as the community grew stronger, more united, Jacob realized that the bear had been more than just a catalyst for change. It had been a teacher, a guide that had led him to a deeper understanding of himself and the world around him. He knew that the lessons he had learned from the bear would stay with him forever, shaping the way he lived and the way he interacted with the wild. As the years passed, the legend of Jacob and the bear continued to grow. People came from far and wide to hear his story, to learn from his example. And as Jacob shared his tale, he always emphasized the importance of respect and understanding. He spoke of the bear not as a fearsome creature, but as a symbol of the wild's untamed beauty. He encouraged others to seek out their own connections to nature, to find the quiet spaces within themselves where they could hear the whispers of the earth. And as he watched the community thrive, Jacob knew that the bear's legacy would live on. It would continue to inspire others to embrace the wild, to find strength in the face of adversity. As Jacob grew older, he began to feel the weight of time upon his shoulders. But even as his body weakened, his spirit remained strong, forever bound to the wild. He spent his days in quiet contemplation, watching the changing of the seasons and the ebb and flow of life in the mountains. And always, the bear was there, a constant presence in his thoughts and dreams. Jacob knew that his time was drawing to a close, but he was not afraid. He had lived a life full of purpose and meaning, had touched the lives of countless others. And as he lay on his bed, surrounded by the people he loved, Jacob closed his eyes and let his mind drift to the mountains. He saw the bear one last time, its eyes filled with a wisdom that transcended the ages. As news of Jacob's passing spread through the mountain community, a hush fell over the land. People gathered to mourn the loss of a man who had touched their lives in countless ways. They shared stories of his kindness, his courage, and his unwavering connection to the wild. They spoke of the lessons he had taught them, the ways in which he had helped them find their own paths. And as they honored Jacob's memory, they knew that his legacy would live on. It would continue to inspire others to seek out the beauty and wisdom of the wild, to find strength in the face of adversity. The bear, too, felt the loss of its friend. It roamed the mountains, its steps heavy with grief. But even in its sorrow, the bear knew that Jacob's spirit would always be with it, guiding it through the wild. Years passed, and the mountain community continued to thrive. The seeds that Jacob had planted took root, growing into a legacy of respect and understanding. People came from far and wide to walk the trails that Jacob had once trod, to feel the connection to the wild that he had embodied. They marveled at the beauty of the mountains, at the intricate web of life that sustained them. And always, the bear was there, a symbol of the untamed spirit that Jacob had loved so deeply. It roamed the forests and the slopes, its presence a reminder of the power and majesty of the wild. As the sun set over the mountains, casting a golden glow across the land, the people of the community gathered once more. They shared stories and laughter, their hearts filled with the warmth of connection. And as the night descended, they looked to the stars, knowing that Jacob's spirit was still with them, forever woven into the fabric of the wild. In the heart of the mountains, a new legend was born. A legend of a man who had faced a bear and found a connection that transcended fear. A legend of hope, of transformation, and of the enduring power of the human spirit. And as the people of the mountain community looked to the future, they knew that Jacob's legacy would endure, a shining light that would guide them through the wilderness, now and forever. For in the end, it was not about the bear or even about Jacob himself. It was about the universal truths that they had both embodied, the power of respect, the importance of understanding, and the unbreakable bond between humans and the wild. In the years that followed, the mountain community continued to evolve and grow, guided by the principles that Jacob had taught them. They embraced the wild, not as something to be feared or conquered, but as a vital part of their own existence. They planted gardens and tended to the land, nurturing the delicate balance that existed between humans and nature. They taught their children the ways of the wild, passing down the stories and legends that had been born in the heart of the mountains. And always, the bear remained a constant presence, a reminder of the power and beauty that existed beyond the boundaries of their own lives. As the community flourished, they began to attract visitors from far and wide. People came to experience the magic of the mountains, to walk in the footsteps of the legendary Jacob, and to catch a glimpse of the bear that had changed everything. They marveled at the harmony that existed between the people and the land, at the way in which the community had learned to live in balance with the wild. And as they listened to the stories of Jacob and the bear, they too were touched by the power of that fateful encounter. They left the mountains with a newfound appreciation for the natural world, and a deep respect for the wisdom that lay hidden within its untamed beauty. Years turned into decades, and the legend of Jacob and the bear continued to grow. It became a tale that was told around campfires and passed down from generation to generation, a reminder of the enduring power of the human spirit. And through it all, the bear remained a symbol of the wild, a guardian of the mountains that had shaped the lives of so many. For in the end, the story of Jacob and the bear was not just about one man and one creature. It was about the interconnectedness of all things, about the delicate balance that existed between humans and the natural world. It was a reminder that, even in the face of great adversity, there was always hope to be found in the wild places of the earth. that by opening our hearts to the beauty and wisdom of nature, we could find the strength to overcome any obstacle. And so, the legacy of Jacob and the bear lived on, a testament to the power of understanding and the enduring spirit of the wild. As the years passed, the mountain community continued to thrive, their lives forever intertwined with the rhythms of the natural world. They celebrated the changing of the seasons, the blooming of wildflowers, and the migration of birds across the vast expanse of the sky. They taught their children to respect the land, to see the beauty in the small things, and to find solace in the quiet moments of connection with the earth. And always, the bear was there, a silent guardian of the mountains, a reminder of the profound bond that existed between humans and the wild. As the older generations passed on, their stories and wisdom became the foundation upon which the community was built. The tales of Jacob and the bear were woven into the fabric of their lives, a constant reminder of the power of compassion and the importance of living in harmony with the natural world. And as new generations were born, they too were touched by the legend of the man who had faced a bear and found a connection that transcended fear. They grew up with a deep appreciation for the wild, a reverence for the untamed beauty that surrounded them. They learned to see the bear not as a threat, but as a symbol of the resilience and strength that existed within themselves. They understood that, by embracing the challenges of the wild, they could find the courage to face any obstacle that life might throw their way. And so, the mountain community continued to evolve, shaped by the wisdom of the past and the promise of the future. They became a beacon of hope, a shining example of what was possible when humans and nature existed in balance. Their story spread far beyond the boundaries of the mountains, inspiring others to seek out their own connections to the wild. People came from all walks of life to learn from the community, to experience the magic of the mountains, and to catch a glimpse of the legendary bear. And as the world around them changed, the mountain community remained a constant, a reminder of the enduring power of the human spirit and the unbreakable bond between humans and the natural world. For in the end, the legacy of Jacob and the bear was a testament to the resilience of the human heart, to the ability to find hope and beauty in the face of great adversity. It was a reminder that, no matter how dark the night might seem, there was always a new dawn waiting on the horizon, that by opening our hearts to the wild, we could find the strength to face any challenge, to overcome any obstacle, and to build a better world for ourselves and for generations to come. As the legend of Jacob and the bear continued to inspire people far and wide, the mountain community became a symbol of hope and resilience in a world that often seemed filled with uncertainty and fear. They welcomed visitors from all walks of life, sharing their stories and their wisdom with all who sought to learn from them. They taught them the ways of the wild, the importance of living in harmony with the natural world, and the power of compassion and understanding. And as the visitors returned to their own lives, they carried with them the lessons they had learned in the mountains. They began to see the world through new eyes, to appreciate the beauty and complexity of the natural world, and to find strength in the face of adversity. As the influence of the mountain community continued to grow, they began to face new challenges. The outside world was changing rapidly, and with those changes came new threats to the delicate balance they had worked so hard to achieve. There were those who sought to exploit the resources of the mountains, to strip the land of its natural beauty in the pursuit of profit and power. They saw the wild places as nothing more than a commodity to be bought and sold, a means to an end. But the mountain community refused to stand by and watch as their beloved home was destroyed. They banded together, using the wisdom and strength they had gained from their connection to the wild to fight back against those who would do harm. They rallied their allies from far and wide, those who had been touched by the legend of Jacob and the bear and who understood the importance of preserving the natural world. Together, they formed a powerful coalition, a force for change that could not be ignored. They marched on the halls of power, demanding that their voices be heard. They spoke out against the greed and short-sightedness that threatened to destroy all that they held dear, and they called for a new way of living, one that valued the earth and all its creatures. And slowly but surely, their message began to take hold. People across the world were inspired by their courage and their commitment, and they too began to take up the cause of protecting the wild places that meant so much to them. Governments and corporations began to take notice, realizing that they could no longer ignore the growing movement for change. They started to invest in renewable energy, to protect endangered species, and to work towards a more sustainable future. And as the world began to shift, the mountain community knew that they had played a vital role in bringing about that change. They had shown that by staying true to their values and their connection to the wild, they could make a difference in the world. As the years turned into decades, the mountain community continued to thrive, adapting to the changing world around them while never losing sight of the wisdom and values that had guided them for so long. They watched as their children grew into adults, passing down the stories and legends of Jacob and the bear to the next generation. They taught them the importance of living in harmony with the natural world, of finding strength and resilience in the face of adversity, and of never losing hope, even in the darkest of times. And as the community grew and changed, they never forgot the lessons they had learned from the wild. They continued to tend to their gardens, to care for the animals that shared their home, and to find joy and beauty in the simple things. They welcomed new members into their fold, those who had been drawn to the mountains by the legend of Jacob and the bear and who sought to learn from the wisdom of the community. They taught them the ways of the wild, the importance of compassion and understanding, and the power of living in balance with the earth. And as the world around them continued to face new challenges and uncertainties, the mountain community remained a beacon of hope and resilience. They showed that by staying true to their values and their connection to the wild, they could weather any storm, overcome any obstacle, and build a better world for themselves and for generations to come. They knew that the legacy of Jacob and the bear would live on, not just in the stories they told, but in the way they lived their lives. They had learned that true strength came not from dominance or aggression, but from understanding and respect, from the ability to find common ground and to work together towards a shared purpose. And as they looked to the future, they knew that the wild places of the earth would always be a source of inspiration and renewal, a reminder of the raw beauty and power of the natural world. They knew that by staying connected to those places, by learning from them and protecting them, they could help to build a world that was more just, more compassionate, and more alive. As the mountain community looked to the future, they carried with them not just memories, but a living legacy that continued to shape their world in profound and unexpected ways. The story of Jacob and the bear had become more than just a tale passed down through generations. It had evolved into a philosophy, a way of life that touched everyone who encountered it. In the decades that followed, the community faced unprecedented challenges. Climate change brought fiercer storms and unpredictable seasons. The modern world pressed ever closer to their boundaries, with its technological advances and urban sprawl threatening to encroach upon their sacred spaces. Yet through it all, they remained steadfast, drawing strength from the wisdom that Jacob and the bear had imparted. They developed innovative ways to protect their land while adapting to the changing times. Solar panels now dotted the landscapes, carefully positioned to minimize their impact on the natural environment. They created educational programs that brought school children from across the country to learn about sustainable living and wildlife conservation. The bear, now elderly but still magnificent, had become a symbol of resistance against the destruction of natural habitats. The community's influence spread far beyond the mountains. Environmental organizations sought their counsel, and their model of sustainable living was studied and replicated in other parts of the world. They had shown that it was possible to embrace progress while maintaining a deep connection to the natural world. During particularly challenging times, the elders would gather the community around the ancient fire pit, where Jacob had once shared his stories. They would recount not just the tale of his encounter with the bear, but the countless small moments of triumph and transformation that had followed. They spoke of how Jacob had taught them to listen to the wind, to read the stories written in animal tracks, and to find strength in stillness. The bear's descendants now roamed the mountains, each generation seeming to inherit not just their ancestors' physical prowess, but also that crucial spark of understanding that had first manifested in the legendary encounter. Visitors often reported profound experiences with these bears, moments of connection that echoed Jacob's original experience. As the community celebrated its centennial anniversary of Jacob's first encounter with the bear, they organized a gathering that drew people from around the globe: environmental leaders, spiritual seekers, and curious travelers all made the journey to the mountains. They came to witness firsthand the living proof that humans could coexist harmoniously with nature, that progress didn't have to come at the expense of the wild. During the celebration, something extraordinary occurred. As the community gathered for their evening ceremonies, a young bear emerged from the forest. Unlike its ancestors' first appearance, this encounter brought no fear. Instead, a hushed awe fell over the crowd as the bear calmly walked through their midst, its presence a living embodiment of Jacob's legacy. The bear paused near the ceremonial fire, its eyes reflecting the dancing flames. In that moment, many swore they could feel Jacob's presence, could sense the same spirit of understanding and connection that had transformed their community so many years ago. The bear stayed for several minutes before quietly returning to the forest, leaving behind a renewed sense of purpose and hope. This event sparked a new chapter in the community's story. They realized that their role was not just to preserve the past, but to actively shape the future. They began developing new initiatives to combat environmental degradation, working with scientists to document and protect endangered species, and creating innovative educational programs that combine traditional wisdom with modern environmental science. Young people from the community became ambassadors of their way of life, traveling to cities and other communities to share their knowledge and experience. They spoke of the delicate balance between progress and preservation, of the importance of maintaining wild spaces in an increasingly developed world, and of the transformative power of connecting with nature. The story of Jacob and the bear had evolved into something far greater than either could have imagined. It had become a blueprint for hope in an age of environmental crisis, a reminder that the connection between humans and nature was not just desirable but essential for our survival. As the sun set on another day in the mountains, the community gathered as they always had, sharing stories and dreams around the fire. They knew that their work was far from over, that each generation would face new challenges and opportunities. But they also knew that they had something precious to guide them, a legacy of wisdom, courage, and connection that had begun with one man and one bear, and had grown to touch countless lives across the globe. The spirit of Jacob lived on in every act of kindness toward the natural world, in every moment of connection between humans and wildlife, and in every step taken toward a more sustainable future. And somewhere in the mountains, the descendants of that first bear continued to roam, silent guardians of a legacy that would endure for generations to come. They understood now that the true power of Jacob's story lay not in its ending, but in its continuation through each person who chose to listen to the wisdom of the wild, to stand firm in the face of adversity, and to believe in the possibility of harmony between all living things. It was a legacy that would continue to grow and evolve, touching new hearts and inspiring new dreams, as long as there were those willing to listen to the quiet whispers of the wilderness and find their own path to connection and understanding. The end.